ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. وأكرمني بنور الفهم. اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of the book Ta'aleem wa Tarbiyat dar Islam, or Training and Education in Islam, by late Ayatollah Mutahhari. Actually, recently was the anniversary of martyrdom of Ayatollah Mutahhari, and we request Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send his best of salutations and rahmah and mercy to him and all our godly scholars that have helped us in understanding the truth and remaining on the right track. In the previous session, which was the third lecture of this series, we talked about the significance of developing potentials and talents, and we said tarbiyah is a kind of development, is not a kind of industry that you add something from outside to the materials that you want to change. Today, inshallah, we want to study the fourth lesson from the book, which is about the habits. This is very closely connected to the previous discussion. The question is, if tarbiyah, if education is a matter of developing and training, like a flower which has to grow, then what's the role of habits? In order to better appreciate the significance of this question, Ayatollah Mutahhari introduces to us two different attitudes. One attitude is the classic, the traditional attitude. For example, many of our great scholars of akhlaq and tarbiyah in Islam, and similar to that in other religious traditions and even in some philosophical traditions, they have had this idea that ethics is a matter of developing some qualities in the soul, some virtues, and make sure that they become malaka. They become part of your character in the way that they cannot easily be changed. Because malaka is a quality of the soul which is not temporary, which is not changeable quickly. They say, kayfiyatun or hay'atun rasikhatun lin-nafs tasduru anha al-af'al bis-suhulatin min dun at-tarabbi. A kind of situation, a kind of quality, condition for the soul which is rasikha, is well rooted, well established. Bravery, generosity are not available if once, twice, for a few days, someone does brave things or generous things. These are to be rasikha, these are to be well-rooted, well-established. And then if you have them, actions which are suitable, brave actions, for example, for bravery, generous actions for generosity, can happen bisuhula, easily. You don't need to think a lot. Min duna tarawwi. A brave person, when finds out that this is a situation for exercising bravery, would do it without pain, without forcing himself, without too much calculation and thinking. The same with generous person. So ulama of akhlaq have had this idea that we need to develop in ourselves these qualities and also good habits. Good habits are very important. And they were also very much emphasizing on starting this as soon as possible. When we are very young, we can learn things and preserve them better. You know, very famous saying, al-ilmu fi as-sighar kan-naqsh fi al-hajar. Something that you learn as a child, it can remain like a kind of print which is imprinted on a stone. Imagine if there is something inscripted on stone, or printed on stone, it remains. If it is on soil, on clay, it can little by little be washed away, or wind, things otherwise, they remain. But forces of nature like wind, like water, like people, walking on it, etc., can wash them away. But if it is on a stone, no. Al-ilmu fi as-sighar. If when you are a child, you learn something and read and memorize, it can remain sharp. But Ayatollah Muttahari says it's not only for knowledge. Anything that you develop as a child, it can remain. Not to the extent that it's impossible to forget or it's impossible to change afterward, but it means that it would be very strong and not easy to lose them or to change them. If they are good, you don't want to lose them. If they are bad, it's very difficult to change them. So this is why tarbiyah in early years is very important. And this is also why it's very important that children have very good memories in their early childhood, because these memories of receiving attention, love, kindness, respect from family, from friends, remain in their mind and heart forever. Sometimes they are aware of it. Sometimes they may not be aware of it. It's in their subconscious mind, but still they have their impact. So ulama of akhlaq have this idea that from early years, we need to start tarbiyah. Even from before birth, even before delivery of the child, but at least when the child starts understanding the environment, hearing things, seeing things, smelling things, then tarbiyah must not be delayed, gently, proportionate to the level of their understanding, their capacity, but never we should forget tarbiyah. We should never abandon tarbiyah. Actually, the sooner the better. If we help them in developing good habits and developing those good virtuous malakat, then for the rest of their life, they have easy situation. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to change later. So, Mawlavi or Rumi has this story that I have mentioned in different lectures. It's a nice analogy. He says, there was a person who had a bush outside his home, which had thorns. People who were passing, it was not a, big, for example, lane, very wide lane. It used to be a narrow lane. So people who were passing by, the thorns of this bush annoyed them, hurt them, injured them. They were complaining to this man, why you don't remove this? And he was just delaying. He was delaying, and then years passed. Finally, this bush became so giant, huge, and was impossible for people to cross, to pass. And he decided to remove it. But he was no longer that young, strong man. Bush was getting stronger and stronger, and he was getting weaker and weaker. So he says, خاربون در قوت و برخاستن، خارکن در سستی و در کاستن. Very beautiful. Khar means thorn. Kharbun means the roots of this bush with thorns. در قوت و برخاستن was becoming stronger and rising, becoming taller. Kharkan, kan from kandan, the one who wanted to remove and uproot this bush with thorns, opposite to the bush which was going higher and becoming stronger, that susti was becoming weaker and was reduced in the power. What is the point? The point is that if you don't fix your problems, if you don't fix issues that are there in your mind, in your heart, bad habits, bad akhlaq, when you are young, then fighting them later, combating them later, removing them later becomes more difficult. You become weaker and they become stronger. So it's better not to delay. As soon as possible, try to go for treatment. Like in a medical disease also, and treatment. The sooner the better. Ziyadi also, this was by Mawlavi. Ziyadi also says, هر که در خردیش ادب نکنند، در بزرگی ادب از او برخاست. Whoever is not educated when he or she is very young, khurdsal, infant, if tarbiyah is not offered when someone is very young, when that person becomes an adult and middle-aged, tarbiyah is not going to work, and that person would not have proper adab, politeness and courtesy. چوب تر را چنان که خواهی پیچ، نشود خشک جز به آتش راست. The second part has become a proverb in Farsi. When there is a tree and you take, for example, a branch, and it's still wet, young, fresh, you can twist it. Even you can give it a shape, and if it dries, remains with that shape. But a dried piece of wood, a dried branch, for example, of a tree. Whatever form it has taken, it will remain. And if you want to change it, it can break it. If you want to make sure that you can change it and not break it, you have to heat it. Those who make, chairs, desks from bamboo, etc., one of the things they do is they heat. So, نشود خشک جز به آتش راست. Something which is dry, only fire can make it straight if it is burning. This also refers to punishment of fire, that if we have lost a straight path and have developed bad habits and bad traits of character, only punishment can again make us straight. So, tarbiyah should be done as quick as possible, or at least should start as soon as possible, because we need it all the way. In Farsi, they say, با شیر اندرون شد و با جان به در رود. If something is given with milk, means when mother fosters the baby, if something at that time is given to the child, like love for Allah, love for Ahlul Bayt, kindness, adab, etc. Something which is given with milk at the time of fostering a baby only would leave when this person is dying. When the soul is leaving the body, okay, then the soul takes all this with itself or herself. So, according to them, according to our scholars, tarbiyah is a matter of developing and training, but at the same time helping in acquiring positive rituals, qualities, and habits. Some modern educationists, they are against habits, even positive habits, good habits. For example, he refers to Jean-Jacques Rousseau. These people have the idea that the main elements in tarbiyah must be free will. A child, a teenager, a young person, an adult, a middle-aged, they should act according to their own free will and aql, intellect. Nothing should weaken the scope of free will. If something becomes a habit, then it reduces the free will. So they are not happy with that. As we said before in the discussion about insan kamil, you remember in one discussion I mentioned at the beginning this point, that any philosophy, any thinker, any religion, any school of thought may have some strong points. You cannot find anyone or any school that has 100% missed the truth. Actually, if something was 100% against the truth was good, because then by doing the opposite, we could understand the truth. Always falsehood decorates itself with some truth. And always people find some truth and miss parts of the truth. It's a matter of how much. So even Marxists, they have some good points. But when they exaggerate, when they deny other aspects, that's the problem. Capitalists, I don't know, any school, they have something nice. The problem is not to see the rest of the truth or to magnify their piece of truth, to exaggerate, etc. So these people have some positive observation, but they have missed also part of the picture. What we accept, and actually is mentioned in our hadith, is that we should not do things habitually in the sense that we lose our awareness. We do them just automatically, like a robot. No, this is not good. For example, we have this hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. لا تنظروا إلى كثرة صلواتهم أو صلاتهم. Salawat is plural for salat. وصومهم وكثرة الحج والمعروف وطنطنتهم بالليل. لكن انظروا إلى صدق الحديث وأداء الأمانة. Some people pray a lot, fast months of Ramadan, then throughout the year, they fast a lot. They go for Hajj many times. They do many good things, many charitable work, etc. They do Salatul Layl. But Rasulullah says, don't look at these things alone, but look at Sidq al-Hadith wa Ada al-Aman. How much they tell the truth, how truthful they are, how much they deliver the trust back to the people who have entrusted them with these things, how much they are trustworthy. Then Imam Sadiq alayhi salam has a hadith which explains this. He says, لا تنظروا إلى طول ركوع الرجل والسجود. Don't look at long ruku, long sajda that someone may have. Say, oh, he must be very good because his sajda is long. His ruku is long. Certainly to have long ruku, long sajda is very good. But just having them as action would not show that this person is a great person necessarily. Why? فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ شَيْءٌ اعْتَادَهُ. Because this is something that he's used to. He's accustomed to. فَلَوْ تَرَكَهُ اسْتَوْحَشَ لِذَلِكَ. If he stops, he feels very bad. So he does it just out of habit, in order not to feel bad. وَلَكِنْ انظُرُوا إِلَى صِدْقِ الْحَدِيثِ وَأَدَاءِ أَمَانَتِهِ. صِدْقَ حَدِيثِهِ وَأَدَاءِ أَمَانَتِهِ. Look how truthful he is in his words, how much he is trustworthy. What does it mean? It means that even great actions like salah, like siyam, like salatul layl, like charity work, as long as we do them with intention and attention, they are great. But the moment they become just habits, we do them without being aware of what we do. They become just a set of routines that we do it automatically, like a robot. Then they don't help us that much. Still, they're better than not doing, but they're not helping us deeply. Therefore, a person who does all these things, when is faced with a situation that he can tell the truth and face some challenge, or tell a lie and easily get what he wants, those habits may not help him to be truthful. If salat is done with intention and attention, you cannot tell lie. You cannot not give trust of people back to them. You cannot betray. You cannot be selfish. You cannot be aggressive to people and ignore their rights. But salat as a habit, yes, it can be there and people can do mischief again. Khawarij are very famous examples of people who used to do lots of salat on their forehead. There were strong effects of sajda. But did this salat help them? No. Actually, maybe because of this salat, they were proud of themselves. They became arrogant. So this point is a very valid point, that we should not do things just out of habit. Ayatollah Mutahhir says, for example, some people, when they are told that because you are ill, you must not fast. They say, no, I have to fast. I have always been fasting. From childhood, I've been fasting. I have to fast. Oh, you are fasting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same Allah who told you to fast says not to fast. Why you say, I must fast? This shows that it has become a habit, and he enjoys more when he acts according to his habit. Of course, there can be other explanations, but this is maybe one common possibility. Well, one of ulama used to say that if someone has been imam of jama'ah in a masjid, and for, I don't know, years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, he has always been attending jama'ah on time, never missed any jama'ah. Is this a good thing? Some people say, oh, mashallah, so much of dedication. For tens of years, this imam of jama'ah never missed one salatul jama'ah. But one of ulama was saying that actually this is very worrying. Why? Because in all these years, he never had something more important, some emergencies. For example, no one was in need of being taken to hospital. There was no issue at home, no issue with the neighbors, family, anything in all these years that could have be urgent and be prioritized over Salatul Jama'ah, which is mustahab. It's very unlikely to think that, it's not impossible, it's very unlikely that for years, never something more important happened. So this alim was saying that we have to be very careful. We should never be too much attached even to good things, because if they become like habits, or if we think they are, wajib all the time, then we may miss some other thing that might be more expected from us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that time. You want to go to Salatul Jama'ah, that's great. But then it's raining. You see a lady carrying child is on the street waiting for someone to give lift. You have the choice. You can go for Salatul Jama'ah. You can help this lady. Which one is more pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Of course, conditions are different. Sometimes if you don't give lift, there is a taxi behind, taking this lady. There are lots of factors, but I'm saying we should always be open to find out what Allah expects from me at this moment. Don't seek Allah's pleasure always where you expect. Many times Allah's pleasure can be where we don't expect. And Allah wants to see how alert we are. And I always say we should look around 360 degrees so that we don't miss any opportunity. Like Musa alayhi salam. If Musa alayhi salam was just looking to the road in front of him, he was not seeing the fire on the side of the road and would have missed the great opportunity of receiving revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to look around and see what Allah wants from me. Don't say, no, I just want this sawab. I just want this action. Anyway, these are beautiful, valid points that we have to be open, we have to be vibrant, at the same time that we don't lose our lines of practice, our regularities, but we are not doing things as a robot. The beauty of telling truth and ada'ul amana is that because they are with different people, with different issues, different risks, etc., they never become robotic action. But because Salat has very fixed structure and, you know, Salat al-Zuhr is this much, what you have to do, Salat al-Zuhr, Salat al-Asr, therefore, they can become robotic actions if you are not careful. By the way, even for Salat, it's good if you can use things that would not let a particular thing take shape in you. For example, for qunut, for sajda, the last sajda, use different du'as, different dhikrs, apart from wajib ones, for mustahabat, so that there is something changeable, so that it doesn't become robotic. But what is not valid in the idea of those people who oppose habits? So the one aspect was good, we have it ourselves, but what is not valid is to oppose all kinds of habits and say they are bad or they are stopping our free will, our actions would lose its moral significance because we do it automatically, etc. No. Ayatollah Mutahari here introduces a distinction between what he calls adat fi'li wa adat infi'ali. Ada in Arabic or adat in Farsi means habit. Adat is plural. Fi'li and infi'ali. Fi'l means action, is active. Infi'ali is passive, is reactionary. Adat fi'li are very good. For example, writing, whether you write with pen or pencil, whatever, writing needs to develop habits. If you don't develop habits and you want to do things like drawing picture every time, you know how much time it takes? We cannot write anything. We develop habits for writing or driving. Many things that we do during the day, in our job, in our personal life, cooking, washing, driving, swimming, riding bicycle, even walking. Do you think you can walk without using habits that you have developed as a child? And if someone doesn't develop good habits at that time, may always walk in a way which is not balanced, for example. Riding bicycle is not possible without developing some habits. These are good habits, fi'li. These are active, actual habits, and they help us a lot. What is bad is infa'ali, reactionary. For example, I have to always sleep on this kind of mattress, on this kind of pillow I should put my head. Only this drink I can eat, drink with my food, or this type of rice, with this type of cooking, with this type of spice. Otherwise, I cannot, finish my day. These are things that are negative because they bring weakness, they bring reliance, dependence, they restrict your choices, they make life for you and other people difficult. Sometimes it's good to have organized life, but not like, iron. For example, it's good that every day you have breakfast at this time, lunch at this time. Yeah, good. But you shouldn't be disturbed if something important happens and you have to change it. So, because I couldn't have my breakfast at 7 o'clock, this day is damaged. This is not good. So, if you develop a habit for Salatul Layl, is it good or bad? Those who oppose all the habits, they say it's bad. You shouldn't develop habits and every day try to do Salatul Layl. But we say to develop habit of doing Salatul Layl is not stopping your free will. It's like developing habits of riding bicycle, writing, swimming, driving. It makes it just doable. Otherwise, if you don't have a habit of Salatul Layl, every day you have to struggle to get up and then leave your bed, make wuzu and say Salatul Layl. But if you have developed habit, still you have free will. It's not that you must do Salatul Layl. You may have habit, you can easily wake up. But for example, you have now to take someone to hospital. Okay, you take him to hospital. Or for example, I don't know, something urgent has come, you have to leave the home earlier. You can do it. It's not that you are forced to do Salatul Layl, or you would do Salatul Layl without understanding. No. It's a habit which is positive, which is making me more capable of using my options and exercising actually my free will. If I am not used to it, laziness creates a kind of resistance in me. And I know I have to wake up, but before going to bed, I decide to wake up. When I'm in the bed, I cannot wake up. So this is the discussion about habits. And inshallah, we continue this discussion in the next session, inshallah. Towards the end of this lesson, Ayatollah Mutahari starts the preparation for the next topic, which is about what makes an action moral, what makes an action morally significant, or what gives moral status to an action. Inshallah, we will continue this discussion bi'iznillah in the next session. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.
Jazakallah. The people who are asking question can please mention your city. Yeah, Noor Jafar.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm from Dubai. Thank you, Maulana, so much for your enlightening lectures. They're really very, very helpful. Thank you so much. Jazakallah. Jazakallah alf khair. Maulana, my question is that habits, as you said, they're good or bad. And I would like to know more about malaka. When you have the malaka of over a habit, it's a conscious and you have to be very aware while we are having malaka. It's a power and control. Could you just tell me more about it? And it can also be good or bad?
Yeah. Malaka is a quality which is well shaped and formed and rooted. It can be positive malakat, it can be negative, it can be virtuous or vicious. For example, bravery, generosity, kindness, patience, gratitude, these all can become malakat. You have developed what we call a second nature of being grateful, being polite, being patient, being organized. If they are malakamis, they are well established, and you don't need to struggle every day to do these actions which are suitable. They match that malak. But malak can be also negative. For example, someone is impatient, someone is miserly, someone is selfish, someone is fearful. So therefore, akhlaq is to help us with bringing good actions and avoiding bad actions, and also developing positive malakat, virtues, and avoiding, removing negative malakat or vices. If these malakat are developed, positive ones, virtuous ones, they make life very easy for us, and also we will be resurrected with these malakat. The most important thing when we are resurrected is our aqaid and malakat, then actions. Malakat, generally speaking, are more important than actions. If someone has some generous acts, he will be rewarded. But your generosity is always with you. And some believe that if someone has even one virtue, but in a strong way, they will not be punished by fire. So if you are really, truly generous, like Hatamatai, you will not be put in fire. Maybe this person will not go to heaven, but will not be punished, because these virtues are all godly qualities. And if we manage to develop these virtues, then they will save us in dunya, they will save us in the hereafter. I'm not saying one virtue is enough, but I'm saying that even one virtue, if it is developed fully, can save us. And in reality, these virtues are very much interwoven. You cannot be very generous person and then not patient. You cannot be very generous person and then, for example, a person who disregards the rights of other people. Many of these virtues, if they are really developed, they lead to other virtues.
So Maulana, my question is like, malaka is a virtue and it's different from habit, because it is done consciously with a lot of awareness, and also you have to control it all the time. You can lose it. One can lose it very easily as well. Is that correct?
So malaka is about virtues or vices. Habits are more actions, but when these actions become habits, they resemble malakat because they have become fixed. But habit can be action. For example, habit of waking up at certain time. It's a habit. It's not, we don't call this malakah. But it's very similar to malakat. So in akhlaq, we should develop virtuous malakat and useful habits, but never let anything eliminate our consciousness, our intention and attention. Do things with intention and attention. For example, I do tasbih of Lady Fatima. It should not become something that I do it without attention. Just Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, without attention. Still, it's useful. I'm not saying it's useless, but when it is with attention, it works in a different way. Every Allahu Akbar that I say, I should say it and mean it and let it go in my heart.
Jazakallah, thank you so much. Maulana, another one small question is, like for that Nawafil al-Subh, if a person has a habit of sleeping late and he knows that when he'll wake up for morning prayers, then he can only pray the morning prayers very attentively. So if he prays Nawafil al-Subh before sleeping and then like 11, 12, 1, and then wakes up and prays only wajib, only farz of Subh, is it okay?
You mean Salatul Layl or Nafil?
No, not Salatul Layl also. If he sleep before sleeping, he prays Salatul Layl, and then after that he prays the Nawafil al-Subh. And then he goes back to sleep like 11, 12, 1, 2, and then he wakes up for the Fajr, and so he's fresh, little fresh, and he can easily and nicely pray Fajr with a lot of attention. But if he has to pray the Nawafil also, then he feels a bit tired.
It's not a problem.
Not problem.
First, you feel tired, but little by little, you get used to it. For young people, it is possible to do Salatul Layl before they sleep, if it is before midnight. After midnight, everyone can do Salatul Layl. Midnight for Salatul Layl, okay? Because midnight for Salat al-Maghrib is different from midnight for Salatul Layl. So after midnight, everyone can do Salatul Layl. Young people can do it whenever they go to sleep in the night, even if it is before midnight. But people who are not young, then if they miss Salatul Layl, they should do Qadha. So after they wake up, after Fajr, they do Qadha of Salatul Layl.
Okay. And Nawafil is fine. If he sleeps before sleeping, when prays Nawafil.
Again, if Nafila is before its time, for example, Nafila of Fajr is after Fajr. You cannot do it before Fajr. But you can do Qadha if you miss it afterwards. You cannot do earlier, but you can do Qadha. Only there are some flexibility with Salatul Layl, and also if you do Salatul Layl few rak'ah before Fajr, you know, some details about Salatul Layl, Salatul Fajr, you check the Risalah of your marja. But for example, I cannot do Nafilatul Fajr at Maghrib. I cannot do Nafilatul Zuhr in the morning. Everything has a fixed time. You cannot do it before. And if you miss it, you do Qadha.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
There is a question in chat. Fajr Mustahab cannot be done before Fajr time. I think, is it a question or?
Yeah. So cannot be done before Fajr. For example, now is 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. You say, I want to do Nafilatul Fajr. You cannot do Nafilatul Fajr so early. Only they may allow, you check your marja, if you have done Salatul Layl and still there is time till Fajr, maybe they allow Salatul Fajr before Fajr after certain rak'ah of Salatul Layl. Just check. But 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., just you want to do Nafilatul Fajr? No. Or during the previous day, You want to do Nafilatul Fajr? No. Nafilatul Fajr is after Fajr, before Salatul Fajr. It's the main time. Exception might be there, as I mentioned, but not too early.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
You say free will is important. We as parents try to control our child to study the subject or many things. But this age is not support this behavior of parents. The child being rebellious about this behavior. I have witnessed recently in my family, a child leave home because he didn't want to study. What is the main reasons? Is the reason only controlling behavior of parents, or the lots of exposure by internet? Or please comment on this.
Yeah, there can be different things, different factors. Nowadays, unfortunately, or sometimes fortunately, it depends on the situation. Parents are not the only people who have control over tarbiyah of their children. It can be good, but most of the time it can be bad. If parents are not able to do their job properly, so it's good that some help is available from outside. But the problem is that many times these external factors force themselves into the life of the child, and even parents either are not aware, or they cannot sometimes do anything, or if they want to do something, then the child thinks that he is pressurized or she's pressurized, etc. It's a very, challenging time. So what we need to do is we need to start tarbiyah as early as possible. When you have more time with your children, they are more attentive to you. A time comes that the child wants to just imitate parents. When you are saying salat, even without you saying you should say salat, the child wants to imitate you in salat, wants to imitate you in everything you do. You must use that time and make sure that they are well tuned into the value system that you have found to be working for you, for humanity. It's not that, we just have some superstitious ideas that we want to pass on to the children. No, the things that are based off our, studies, based off knowledge, based off ma'rifah, we have received from our godly scholars. We have them working for us. We want to make sure our children are not deprived of those things. So we have to start as early as possible, but gently, patiently, and continuously. Not aggressively, harshly, with on and off. Few months put lots of pressure, a few months leave it. No, continuously but gently, and be steadfast. When the child becomes 8, 9, 10, you must have almost finished the job and just make sure that it continues. But if at 8, 9, 10 we want to start, it's difficult, because now they spend lots of time in the school with others, system, different societies have different educational values. It becomes too late. Although we should not be hopeless and despaired, but we have to make sure that by 8, 9, they have already got most of the things, and just they have to maintain and nourish.
we mostly witness in our society, fathers didn't try to talk with son in teens. We witness they have lots of distance between both.
Yeah. So this is a very important point. Sometimes this happens. And sometimes it's not because they don't want it, but maybe they don't know how to do it, or they want the children to go to them because they don't want to impose themselves. Mothers can have great role here. So mothers who are wise, they try to make the relation between father and children better. Don't try to replace father. Try to make relation of father and children better. Say positive things about father to the children. Say positive things about children to the father. Try to make the relation better. Don't think that you can alone do everything, or don't think that you have to do the job of father. They don't need father. No. Try to be a good link and be a good manager. As a mother, you do your own part, but also try to improve the relation between children and their father. It's very important.
But unfortunately, the parents both are blaming each other.
That's not helpful. Even if you are sure that your husband or your wife is not doing the job properly, don't fight over this, don't quarrel. Just, do you see anything positive they do? Even once in a while, highlight that. MashaAllah, you did this. I am very happy, very grateful. Thank you very much. I don't know what I can do without you. Say these things and try to encourage that person.
It is too much difficult for mother, because mother want to relieve their child instantly. But father try to understand child and explain him. But sometimes mother create hurdle.
Yeah. Tarbiyah is not something easy and is not something that can be done quickly. We need father and mother to help each other. If father and mother are on the same page, most of the time children also will follow them. But if they are disagreeing, if they are arguing all the time, quarreling, they give different signals to children, they use children against each other, this will damage children. So if you have a husband or wife that is well understanding and committed, mashallah, alhamdulillah. If not, this doesn't mean you cannot still try to create peace and harmony in the family. You can do, it's more difficult, inshallah, you have great reward. This is your jihad, this is your struggle for the sake of Allah. But even if you can involve your husband or wife, 20%, 30% is better than nothing, and is better than fighting over it. Many things we have to do before marriage, for example, to discuss things, or before having children, to discuss, to set up our policies, etc. about tarbiyah. Now with peace, with patience, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
May Allah bless you, inshallah. Thank you.
Jazakallah. Yeah. Unmute your mic. There's some iPhone, I don't know, sister or brother.
Assalamu alaikum, Agha Sahab.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
I'm fine, Agha Sahab. Very nice lecture. And
could you please mention your city first?
I'm مرتضی from Japan, near Tokyo.
May Allah bless you.
Agha Sahab, I have one question regarding this lecture.
Yes.
That the parents, what is the influence of parents' tarbiyah over their children? But what we have seen in different places, in different cases, that parents, for example, if they are harsh enough to their kids are mostly, scattered in their way. They're not good in their success as well as in life. And what is our Mutahiri readings about this? And second, about the media invasion is definitely too much in our society, in all the societies, particularly in cartoons, or every mother and father, they just they allow them to watch cartoons, which is contrary to our traditional life as well. So this is also, they are encouraging to different languages as well as to different norms. So we are not in control of them. Kindly direct us. What can we do to avoid? Because in Japan, what we have seen in schools, tarbiyat is very good. They don't allow kids to have tablets or maybe cartoons, or they're just like Islamic tarbiyah. But in actually, after they're coming home and they're at home, or they're with friends, the kids are with friends, we have less control over them. Although we are teaching them, but the society has overall too much influence over them. So we don't know how to control them, and how to direct them Islamically. So kindly direct us. Thank you.
Regarding Ayatollah Mutahhari's view, of course, he has discussed this issue in different parts of the book. So inshallah, if you follow these lectures from beginning to the end, then you can develop a comprehensive view about his idea. Although this is only one of his books, and in the book Insan Kamil also we had many things that can be foundation for this tarbiyah. Parents have great role, but as I said, this is a challenging time, because in the past 90% of the job was done by parents. And you could also, for example, choose what type of school they want to go, what type of, teacher would teach them at home, etc. Society was in harmony with family, with community. But now sometimes we live in a society which is totally different from our community, from our faith, values. And sometimes there's only one school, for example, available. Of course, you can do homeschooling, but sometimes parents are not trained for that or are not capable. Anyway, it's a challenging time, although it has also its positive aspects as well, because today for people who are understanding, who are wise, who can discern, it's good that we have lots of things available. But for children who are not experienced, who are not wise in their selections, it's a challenging time. So parents need to very much educate themselves about parenting, about tarbiyah. So you can, for example, when your child becomes ill, you can take them to doctor. But many times for their tarbiyah, you are the only one who should help them. So you have to learn something like, if there is no doctor, you have to become a little nurse at least, to help your family. Now, for a spiritual thing, religious things, you need to be somehow educator of your family. So Islamic education is now very much needed, more than any time in the past, about especially parenting, about tarbiyah. And you should not take things as trial and error basis. You mentioned very good example, for example, about, using tablets or smartphones. We should not let these things be used by our children just as soon as they become available, or we can afford to buy them for our children, or because most of children have them at this age, we have to give them at this age. We should see what's the best time for them to have these things. But we should have prepared them already so that when we don't give them this, they don't think, we are depriving them and they are losing something, great. So we need to be in control of everything that we do for our children, not to be driven by fashion, by media, by films, by cartoons, by children books that the school may give them. We need to be in control of everything as much as possible. And of course, if there are like-minded families, parents, and they can make their children play with each other in a supervised way, discuss with others, so that their relations are again supervised by you and with reliable people, that would be great help. So our main assets in this age are family and community. If we do well in family and community, then when they go to the larger society, they can shine, inshallah. And even secular society would appreciate children that are well trained, properly brought up. They don't appreciate it when we are doing it, unfortunately. But later, when they go to work, when they undertake responsibilities, when they observe rights of other people, when they are very productive, then they would appreciate. They would see that, these people who have family, a strong family, ties, a strong family upbringing, they are much better than people that family left them to the society and to the schooling and etc.
Yeah, Asab, thank you so much. It's very comprehensive answer. And indeed, it is a fact that media has high influence for the children, and parents have to cope with that. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
The same question for the parents and kids.
Could you please mention your city first?
Yeah, I'm from Dubai.
Yes.
My even the same, because we don't have knowledge, so we cannot do properly tarbiyah of kids. So I find in YouTube many scholars, but they teach these are the problems, but they don't give us a solution. But I find one lady scholar, she's a pediatrician, and she's she's a doctor, Kanwal Kesar from Pakistan. So I find her lecture, she just teaches this is the issue and how to deal.
Mm-hmm.
So is it okay if I go, because she's a Sunni scholar? Because for me, means it helped me a lot for my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So she's very hyper, and she don't want to study, and it's very difficult for me. But after hearing her lecture, I find it very helpful. So is it okay, or I go only a Shia scholar?
Yeah, if it is not going to affect your aqidah, there's no problem.
Yeah.
Seek knowledge even if it requires to travel to China. So our only concern is if someone is going to affect your aqidah, your akhlaq. But if it's a practicing Muslim who is not targeting directly or indirectly your aqidah, shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, so I can listen to her, and like even I suggest many of her friends that they can go, like if you can type at any like teenagers or for this, then there are so many lectures and like real fact she tells about her and how to deal or like means it helped me a lot. But even somebody told me that no, you cannot go through the others like other scholar, you only go through the Shia scholar. Even I listened to the 14 lectures of Abidus and Zeddy also about in this Madrasatul Qaim, but even I did not find the solution, you know, like on daily basis. But alhamdulillah, I find with her. So even I was worried that I'm right or wrong. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah. May Allah bless you, inshallah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Jazakumullah khair. Ahsant.
Yes, there is a question in chat. The question is it okay to lie in front of child to say positive things about father?
This is not a lie. I said, if father has, positive things, mention to children. And I don't think anyone is free from positive things. Even a very bad person certainly has positive things. But if needed, in order to reconcile between father and child, between two brothers, two sisters, etc., if needed, ulama say, for islahu dhat al-bayn, telling a lie is permitted. If needed, there is nothing good you can find and you have to tell a lie so that child doesn't hate his father or father doesn't hate the child. Husband and wife are going through difficult time and the only way to save their marriage is to tell lie. Normally, ulama say, islahu dhat al-bayn is one of the exceptions for which telling a lie is permitted. You try other ways, you try not to tell lie, you try to, for example, say things, we say tawriya. Sometimes something has two meanings. It can be understood in a different way. And that's not a lie. That's, saying something that can be understood two ways. But if nothing works and you have to tell a lie to save a marriage, you can do it. Because saving marriage, saving relation with people, islahu dhat al-bayn, reconciliation is so important that if the only way to do it is telling lie, is purposeful. You can check your marja, but I think there is no exception as far as I know. This is very much accepted that islahu dhat al-bayn is an exception. But I don't think we need to reach this point many times. We just need to bring to the front positive things which are sometimes hidden by bad things or by negligence, etc. Otherwise, every person has some good things.
Jazakallah. There is no question, so
may Allah inshallah bless all of you, and let us end with dua faraj inshallah. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا وامنن علينا برضاه وهب لنا رأفته ورحمته ودعاءه خيرا. اللهم اشف مرضانا اللهم ارحم موتانا اللهم اقض حوائجنا اللهم أد عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. May Allah inshallah help you in all your affairs, especially in tarbiyah of your children, and may Allah inshallah help our children to grow and shine inshallah, in our life and life of our community and humanity. Jazakumullah khair.